What if your entire survival hinged on a few specific plants, and not the ones you'd think? Most people imagine basic farm food. But out on the brutal frontier, settlers needed crops far tougher, far more secret. They bet their whole future on forgotten greens and hidden roots, turning deadly deserts into sources of life. This isn't just history. It's a raw lesson in self-reliance that will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about survival. The real test wasn't the journey west. It was what happened the moment they stopped. Imagine getting to your new home, only to realize it's too late in the year to plant anything. That's exactly what happened to one of the first groups of settlers. They almost starved. To survive, they had to eat things you'd never find in a cookbook. They ate weeds and thistles and learned to dig up the bulbs of a flower called the Sego lily. It saved so many lives that it actually became Utah's state flower. This wasn't farming. It was a daily, desperate search for food. And that struggle is what revealed the most valuable plants on the frontier. So, what were these secret survival foods? Let's break down the 10 forgotten plants that pioneers literally bet their lives on. Number 1. Corn, maize. What if the most important survival tool on the frontier wasn't a tool at all, but a plant? For pioneers, corn was much more than just food. It was a complete survival kit in a single stalk. Of course, the high-calorie grain itself was critical. It could be dried and stored for an entire winter, then ground into cornmeal for bread or grits when nothing else was available. But the real genius was in using every part of the plant. Husks were braided into ropes, woven into mattresses, and even fashioned into children's dolls. Number 2. Beans. So, what did you do when the hunt failed and there was no meat for the table? For pioneers, the answer was simple. Beans. These weren't just a side dish. They were a lifeline. Dried and stored in sacks, they could last through the harshest winters, providing the critical protein needed for backbreaking work. But their real secret wasn't just about feeding people, it was about feeding the land. Beans have an amazing ability to put nutrients back into the soil, making it more fertile for the next planting. Number 3. Squash. So how did you defend your family against the deadliest enemy on the frontier? Winter. The answer was a vegetable that came with its own natural armor. Winter squashes, with their incredibly tough shells, were nature's perfect storage containers. Pioneers could harvest them in the fall, line them up in a cool, dark root cellar, and they would last for months. Deep in the dead of winter, when fresh food was impossible to find, these squash provided a vital source of calories and critical vitamins, like vitamin A, to fight off illness. Number 4. Potatoes. What if you could plant a crop that was part farm, part pantry? For pioneers, that's exactly what the humble potato was. This wasn't just another vegetable. It was pure, concentrated energy. A single acre of potatoes could produce far more calories than an acre of wheat, a critical advantage when you had limited land and a family to feed. They were also incredibly tough. Pioneers could plant them in rough, newly broken ground where more sensitive crops might fail. Number 5. Onions. After months of eating the same salted meat and dried beans, how did you keep going? The answer was flavor. Onions were a pioneer's secret weapon against a painfully monotonous diet. A few chopped into a stew could instantly transform a bland meal into something you actually wanted to eat. This wasn't just a luxury, it was crucial for morale. But their power went way beyond taste. Onions were also a form of frontier medicine, packed with nutrients like vitamin C that helped prevent deadly diseases like scurvy. They were easy to grow, easy to store, and a vital ingredient for both physical and mental survival. Number 6. Cabbage. What if one of the most powerful medicines on the frontier wasn't in a bottle, but a barrel? Cabbage was a uniquely resilient crop, thriving in the cold long after other vegetables had withered away. This made it one of the last fresh things they could harvest before winter truly set in. But its real genius was in preservation. Pioneers would shred it, salt it, and pack it tightly to ferment, creating sauerkraut. This wasn't just a way to store food, it was a way to make medicine. Number 7. Turnips. Pioneers had to protect their livestock just as fiercely as they protected their family. So how did you keep them alive when winter buried every last blade of grass under feet of snow? You grew turnips. This wasn't just another vegetable for the dinner table. It was life insurance for your animals. These tough root vegetables could be stored all winter, providing critical feed for the family's ox or milk cow when there was nothing else to eat. This made the humble turnip a perfect 2-for-1 survival plan. One hardy crop that kept both the family and their essential livestock from starving. But while turnips secured the farm, what about the plants that didn't need farming at all? Number 8. Garlic. What did you do when the nearest doctor was 100 miles away and a simple infection could be a death sentence? For pioneers, the answer wasn't in a medicine bottle. It was in a clove of garlic. This was their frontier pharmacy, packed into a tiny bulb. They saw it as nature's antibiotic, using it for everything from coughs and colds to fighting off dangerous infections. In a world without modern medicine, garlic was a powerful first line of defense. Number 9. Sage. Without refrigeration, how did you stop your most valuable food, fresh meat, from spoiling in a matter of days? The answer wasn't a cellar, it was an herb. Sage wasn't just for adding a bit of flavor. For pioneers, it was a powerful natural preservative. By rubbing dried sage on meat, they could drastically slow down spoilage, turning a short-term meal into a much longer-term supply. It was a complete game changer, and its job wasn't done yet. Sage was also a go-to remedy, often brewed into a tea to soothe a sore throat or a hacking cough. It was a preserver and a medicine, all from the same simple plant. But while these carefully grown plants were essential, what about the food that required no farming at all? Number 10. Mint. What if one of your most useful plants required almost zero effort to grow? That was mint. This stuff was so tough and spread so aggressively, it basically farmed itself. Pioneers could bring a tiny cutting from back east and, within a single season, have a massive permanent patch. And that endless supply was a frontier comfort kit. A simple tea made from the leaves could instantly soothe an upset stomach or help calm a fever. But its uses didn't stop there. Bunches of dried mint hung in the cabin helped keep mice and other pests away. It could even make stagnant, funky-tasting water a lot more drinkable. So, these 10 plants weren't just a garden. They were a whole survival toolkit. Pioneers learned to grow some, sure, but when things got really tough, they also relied on wild foods.